For the interview by Bill Maher, the host of Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. Mr. Maher, it is nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you, Rachel.
If we get rid of the IRS altogether, then nobody will have to pay taxes, and then all of our problems will be solved. Yes?
Well, that's their dream world of no taxes because, as you know, the lower taxes are, somehow magically, the more revenue we have. Isn't that really what Paul Ryan's plan is still based on, that fantasy that was discredited in the 80s? But I think even more, it shows that they are always trying to somehow screw the present for the future. You know, cutting nutrition for premature babies, for example, is going to cost us so much more down the road in healthcare costs. Everything in their budget seems very short-sighted this way. I'll give you an example. There was a program to get rid of, pay to get rid of the tattoos that gang members sometimes have on their face. You know this, Rachel. You were in a gang. You had a tattoo. Okay. You couldn't have this job if you had a tattoo on your face. It's very hard to get a job with a tattoo on your face. So, of course, you can hear the right-wingers saying, why should we pay to help a bunch of gangbangers? Because if you do, then they can become productive members of society. See, this is the difference between just spending and investment. They think all of spending, all of investment, you know, you say investment, I hear spending. Well, sometimes it is investment, and sometimes you have to invest for the future. You know, if you buy a nice suit to get a job and you get a job, that suit pays for itself.
You know, and that I think is exactly right, that's sort of the discussion we ought to be having about investment versus austerity, about whether or not it is possible to sort of build our way out of the economic mess that we're in, or whether we have to hunker down and save our way out of the mess that we're in. And in the State of the Union address, the president took the investment line. We do big things. He's expected to make another big speech tomorrow on the economy. I don't expect him to say we do big things anymore, do you?
No, because once again, you know, the Republicans do their trick, and he falls into it. And their trick, of course, is to stake out a position so far on the right that when you come back to the middle, it's not really the middle anymore. And that's what they did with this Paul Ryan budget plan, which, of course, all over the idiot media talking about how brave he is. You know, I hear commentators, yes, well, you know, he was the first one to put everything on the table. No. He didn't put everything on the table. He didn't put defense on the table. That's not touched. Social Security. Where is the courage in this plan of his? Okay, anyway, that's a different discussion, and maybe we'll have it later. But to your point, I mean, this is where the discussion starts. His fantasy budget, which funnels more money to rich people, taking away from the elderly and the poor and everybody else who can at least afford it. So now when we have Obama's response to this, you know it's going to be a center-right. There's nothing for progressives, truly progressive people to latch on to. You know, I want to present what I would consider a budget on my show Friday night, and it would include cutting the defense budget in half. If we did, I mean, it's been almost doubled since 2001. If we just went back to what it was under Clinton, and also went back to the tax rates under Clinton for the rich and for everybody else, we would save $7.5 trillion over the next 10 years without taking money out of the mouths of starving children. How about that, Captain Courageous?
But he's so handsome and boyish. Have you heard about the workout that he does every day? The Paul Ryan response has been, I mean, I realize it's sort of a sideshow, but it has been really, really strange and personal. You're right, they are calling him brave, and they're saying he's done this incredibly courageous thing by putting these cuts out there, but so much of it is focused on what a nice guy he seems like he is. He's not even running for anything right now. He's their budget guy. I haven't really been able to understand why the media is so man-crushed on him.
Yeah, and that is the word for it. I guess it's those dreamy eyes. I don't know either, but this is, again, an old Republican trick. I mean, we saw it with Ronald Reagan. Smile, be genial, act like somebody you'd like to have dinner with or a beer with, and then do horrible things to people. You know, somehow this budget, which I guess they signed, the deal was for 38.5 in cuts, right? Okay, when it was 2 months ago, at $32 billion that they were asking in cuts. Harry Reid said that was draconian and unworkable. And then somehow they get up to $38.5 billion in cuts, and Obama calls it historic. I don't think they're winning.
Yeah. And I have to ask you, if you don't mind, if we take a break, and I'll ask you to come back in a second, but there is one instance in the last decade in which Democrats were in this exact same position with the Republicans, and they won, where President Bush, after he was reelected in 2004, suggested privatizing Social Security, and the Democrats totally won on that one. Do you mind if you stick around for a second, we'll come back and talk about how they won on that and whether they could use the same playbook? All right.
Sure.
Bill Maher joining us here. We will be right back. I'm very excited.